Big wins this week for the front runners, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in New York. What's your takeaway from that?
Well, look, there are no big surprises there. On the other hand, had it gone the other way, had Sanders won or Cruz or Kasich won, it would have been a huge defeat. It keeps them well on their way, slightly different. I think Clinton has basically wrapped up this nomination. You almost can't see a way that she doesn't end up as the Democratic nominee, and that's going to increase the pressure on Bernie Sanders either to, one, get out, or two, if he stays in, to tone down his attacks on Clinton and stop weakening her for the general election. On the Republican side, the race goes on. Trump is the clear frontrunner, but there's still no clear path to the majority he needs, 1237 at the convention. He's got a heck of a lot better chance than anybody else, but it's not a certain deal yet, and he's got to keep winning.
The Republican National Committee seems none too pleased that Trump continues to insist that the situation is rigged.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've talked to Reince Priebus, the head of the Republican Party, and he likes to play it down as posturing on the part of the Republicans. And the fact is, it does help Trump. He's an anti-establishment candidate. For him to say, you know, part of the establishment I'm taking on is the Republican National Committee, the Republican Party, and you know, in a sense, to the degree that the party leaders, officials, maybe holding their nose, are rallying around Ted Cruz, that makes Ted Cruz, by association, part of the establishment as well. You know, it's interesting. Clearly, Trump is not pleased with all this. These were the rules. They weren't changed for him. These have been the rules since last year. But it suits his purposes to act like an aggrieved party. It's one of the things he's been saying all along, is that he and his supporters and the country are being taken advantage of.
Now, on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders can stay in as long as he wants because he continues to raise a lot of money. What do you think he wants out of this at this point?
Well, it's the big question. What does Bernie want? Obviously, he wants a nomination. Doesn't look like he's going to get it. I don't think he wants to be, nor do I think he will be offered the vice presidency. I think that in the short term, he would like to see the Democratic Party platform and, from his point of view, Hillary Clinton, reflect more of his views, although I tend to doubt that in the case of Clinton. I would think that, if anything, she's been pushed further to the left than she wanted to be by Sanders, and that once she wins the nomination, she's going to want to move to the center. What do I think he really wants? I think he believes, and there's no reason he shouldn't believe, that he now is the leader, a spokesman for a national movement, the left wing of the Democratic Party, if you will. And I would think that he will continue in that role, kind of in the way that earlier in this century, Ralph Nader played that role for the Democratic Party you know, during the Al Gore election in 2000.
Now, there's been reports this week that the Trump campaign thinks they might have as many as 1,400 delegates by the time they get to the convention, with unpledged delegates convinced to go his way. Do you think there's any chance of that?
Well, then they'll be paying for more delegates than they'll need.
Right.
You know, I saw that memo, but it's a talking point to their supporters, and I think they're trying to build up this sense. You know, they now talk about him not as the nominee, the presumptive nominee of the party. You know, to the degree possible, they want to say this race is over. I think it's going to be very touch and go as to whether he gets to 1237, the you know, 50% plus one that he needs. More likely he'll be a little bit short coming out of California, maybe 1,100, maybe 1,150. And then he's going to need to persuade, you know, some of the unpledged delegates, some of the delegates who aren't bound in the first ballot, to go for him, to try to get to the difference of 1237. I don't know why he'd keep pushing for 1,400 unless he just thinks that if he gets to 1237, there'll be some kind of snowball effect.
All right. What else do you have on the program this weekend, Chris?
Well, we're going to be talking, first of all, to maybe the most interesting man and with the toughest job in politics right now. That's Paul Manafort, the new top strategist, top advisor to Donald Trump. He's talking about an evolution. You know, everybody's been saying for months, Trump has to act more presidential, has to tone down some of the more outrageous comments and attacks. Trump has ignored that up to this point. Paul Manafort, a very experienced political operative. I've known him since the Reagan White House. The key question is, will Trump listen to him where he hasn't to a lot of other people up till now? He'll be our exclusive interview on Sunday. We'll also be talking in an exclusive interview with the head of the Democratic Party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And of course, the big question which we have discussed, one, will Bernie Sanders stay in the race? And if he does, will he tone down some of his attacks on Hillary Clinton in the immediate wake of the New York defeat that he suffered on Tuesday? He's not toning it down. He's going after Clinton as much as ever.
All right, we'll be watching as always. Chris, thanks.
Thank you, Russ.